right, new day here in the shop, early Saturday morning. Got a project to do. We got one more project to do before we go tapping trees, and it's fixing the steering shaft on the old man's Rancher. So in a previous video, you saw me take the tracks off the Rancher and put them on the Rubicon, the new machine. But I didn't tell you, I actually busted the steering shaft twice on this unit last year in the woods. It was an aftermarket power steering kit that I ordered. I'm not going to name the brand name, but it's a pile of crap. It really is. It's junk. So I snapped it twice. So it's going to be a little bit of a job. I got some plates in there that I got to cut out that I had to weld in. Got some wiring I got to take off. Also, we got the new shaft right here from Honda. We'll get the rack off first, and then we can start pulling the plastic. But this is what we're going after right here. This is the main problem. So if you look in here, you can see the steering shaft right here. It's not moving. I could rotate these handlebars all the way around, and that's not moving in there. So something's obviously busted in that gear and that motor. So we got OEM part steering shaft, so I don't think it's gonna be that bad. I gotta take a bunch of plastic off for the third time. I've had this plastic off this four-wheeler so many times I think I forgot, but we'll get after it. This front rack should pull off here now. Let's see. Well, there we have it. Pop that seat off quick. We'll set that over here as well. Now we gotta start pulling these clips, and there's a ton of them. All these plastic clips right here. They make a special tool for that, which is right here. Here's what you're looking for. Kind of like a prong shape. That'll help you get underneath these clips and pop them out without breaking them. So we'll work on getting these clips out right now. So we got all the plastic off it. I'm a little lazy. I don't like loosening up these roll bars down here. There's a couple bolts you can loosen up down in there and just pivot it down, but usually I can get that front clip piece down, excuse me, down in there. So I'll show you what we got going on here. So now you'll be able to see what we got here. So right here's a bracket. I had to weld this plate in here to be able to hold the ECM unit here. This is the electrical components that run this electric steer. So I got to cut this plate out, unhook these wires, and there's another plate right in here. I don't know if you can see it. ECM unit's out, got that cut out. It's right here sitting on the floor cooling off. So I got it unbolted off that. You never know, you might need it someday down the road, but a couple bolts on the back side. I just figured it was easy just to cut it out way faster and try to unbolt that. So that's out of there, that's gone. It was right there. So now I gotta cut this shaft out of here. So I'm just thinking how I wanna do this. I might just cut it off right here, cut it off there, and maybe cut this U-joint off right here. And then I can unbolt this and drop it down and get it out of the way. And then I'm gonna have to move one of my coolant lines right here. You gotta watch this. I remember when I welded this in there, I had to be careful with this. I didn't melt it. So I think the best thing to do is, like I said, I'll cut this off right here quick, and then I'll cut it off here. That'll give me like 2 inches of room to get that out of there. And then I can unbolt, there's 3 bolts up in here that hold this motor to that plate, and then I'll drop the motor right out and I can walk it right out the side right here. So we got the U-joint cut out. It's right here, sitting on the floor. That's out. That looks a lot better. Now I got some room between the bottom of this shaft. It's hot in here, so I'd be careful what I touch. But from here to that, from the bottom of the motor to the top of what's left of that shaft. So I should be able to unbolt those. You can see them up in there. 1, 2, 3 bolts. And then that motor will separate from that plate that I welded in there. And probably the hardest part of this whole thing looks to me is like getting down underneath this. There's a nut underneath this that holds the rest of that shaft in there. So I think I got this motor loose. I was able to get my fingers up in here. It is tight right here. You can see, you got about 2 fingers high in there, but I was able to get my fingers in there and get all 3 of those bolts out. So I ended up loosening up this set bolt or set screw, whatever you want to call it, for the shaft. So I should be able to line that up and drop it right out of there, I would think. Hopefully it's not real hot. I might have a little bit more. I got to take that out a little farther, I think. All right, here's the set bolt. This bolt, basically, that shaft in here has got a groove in it, and that goes in and that holds that shaft up in there. So it should come out whatever way it's got to be. Yeah, you know it wouldn't be that easy. I gotta get 2 hands on this. I don't think I can do it with 1 hand. So I was able to get a pry bar up in there, and I pried it out of there. So there's the motor right there. What a piece of crap this thing ended up being. So there it is. That was mounted right up in here to that plate. So now I got the steering shaft free. So now I gotta take these 2 bolts out right here. There's like a bracket here, and I don't know what I gotta do to take the rest of this apart. I gotta look at it, but so it was a little tricky getting it out of there, but I got it out. Right here's the piece. What's left? This is what's left of the steering shaft. So there was a nut on the bottom there with a cotter pin in there. So I had to get that cotter pin bent and pulled straight out and then back that nut off. So that was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So now we'll have to take this collar off. There's a clamp right here. We got to take the 2 bolts out of this, and then we got to take the handlebars off that shaft, and we should be able to put the new one in. There we have it. That's what's left of that shaft right there. So I gotta see that new one and make sure. I think I'm gonna need this rubber piece right here, but other than that, we should be good to go. Pretty much do the reverse of what we just did. Drop everything back in and put everything back together. I had to take this rubber collar off the other one and mount it on this, because when this goes back in here, I'll show you, this part right here seats up right against this. So not too bad. A couple hours into this. All right, I'm gonna start putting it back together. New steering shaft is in. The castle nut's on the bottom. The cotter pin's in. I'll show you. So that nut's back up on here and the cotter pin's in. All the hardware's back in. I got the cluster back on for the gauge. That's all back on there. I was able to go down through the plate with the shaft. Right there's the shaft. I got plenty of room to turn it. You can see when I turn it, it doesn't even come close to touching it. So I think all that's left to do is I'll put the plastic back on it. So we'll put the plastic back on it. It's back together. Boy, that's a good feeling. I broke this middle of last maple season, so I think it was actually early when we were first getting started. So I say somewhere around February, so it's been almost a year, but there it is. It's back together. The old Rancher's good to go. Got new steering shaft into it, and it steers pretty sweet, actually. Watch. that's pretty much it. These four-wheelers are ready to roll. So thanks for watching.